President Donald Trump will mark his 100th days in office on Saturday as one of the most unpopular commanders-in-chief in modern American history, with an approval rating hovering around 40%. A majority of Americans disapprove of his leadership since assuming office on the 20th of January, with little major policy or legislative accomplishments that have been enlarged by his administration's combative relationship with the press. But despite major missteps, including a failure to repeal and replace his predecessor's signature domestic health care legislation and multiple run-ins with the courts, Donald Trump remains hugely popular with his core base of supporters who propelled him into the White House.
As bumpy a start to a term in office as any in recent history, beginning with the false narrative that his inauguration drew the largest crowd in history to hundreds of protests around the country, even the world. People organizing against his policy agenda, protesting his rejection of science, particularly when it comes to issues like climate change, or calling on him to release his tax returns. Also become the most unpopular president in modern times at the 100-day mark. At just 42% approval, his predecessors all enjoyed a greater deal of goodwill from a majority of Americans. But what is also true is that 96% of those who voted for him say they'd do so again, retaining his core base of supporters from Election Day.
For his unsupporters, he's doing fine. There was a poll that came out recently that said only 2% of people that voted for Donald Trump regret that decision and think he's doing a poor job. So were the election to be held again, it's possible he would win again. But if you were comparing him against other presidents, he's relying heavily on types of actions like executive orders, which have very little staying power. He can't move anything through Congress. His biggest achievement so far was being in office when a conservative Supreme Court justice got appointed. That's a generic Republican success, but not really a Donald Trump success.
Donald Trump has got to go! Hey, hey!
These were the hundreds of thousands who turned out for the historic Women's March one day after his inauguration, with another huge turnout expected Saturday in favor of climate change action as protesters on the streets become synonymous with his presidency.
We are just now beginning to see the full scale of progressive candidates who are getting ready to run for office next year. We've had a few special elections the past few weeks in different parts of the country where traditionally they've been Republican strongholds. We've seen young, energetic, progressive Democrats deciding to run and having surprisingly close races. So it's not just people on the streets, but as we look towards elections in the fall of next year, I think we're all going to be very surprised to see, the strength and the numbers that Democrats display in those elections.
A number of his major policy agenda items have also been slow to take off or have faltered, among them repealing and replacing Obamacare, building the wall, labelling China a currency manipulator, a comprehensive tax reform bill and a new infrastructure spending bill, while he has managed, though, to appoint the 9th Supreme Court Justice, albeit through a controversial change in the Senate rules.
The problem is with his strategy where when he sets out to change something, he doesn't know exactly what his goals are. Yes, it works in the moment because he can hear that 60% of Americans want one element of Obamacare to remain. So he'll say, okay, I'll incorporate that in. But a patchwork policy vision for your whole presidency is going to fail at one point because you just do not have a core set of goals that you're looking to achieve. And appeasing everyone only lasts for so long, and it never really rings sincere.
Most telling have been the 30 or so executive orders he's signed, a number of those blocked by federal judges, most notably his 2 attempts at stopping immigration from certain countries in Africa and the Middle East. And while those continue to be litigated in the courts, President Trump will celebrate his first 3 months in office with a campaign-style rally for supporters in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on Saturday. Sherman Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.